All right. Today we're going to dive deep into one of the biggest crypto heists in India's history. It's a story of stolen fortunes, of shattered trust, and a grueling 16-month battle just to get back a piece of what was lost. In the crypto world, July 18th, 2024 is known by a single code name, BlackCode. And that's because this was the day that India's crypto dream turned into an absolute nightmare for millions of people. Before it all went wrong, this was the number of people who had put their trust, and more importantly, their money, into WazirX. For a whole generation of Indian investors, this wasn't just an exchange, it was the gateway to crypto. And this was the value of the digital assets WazirX was holding just a month before the hack. We're talking over $500 million. For so many users, this platform was more than just a place to trade. It was their main savings account, a real beacon of financial hope. And then, just like that, this is the amount that vanished. In a matter of hours. Almost $250 million. Gone. The result was instant and brutal. A complete and total shutdown of all trading, all withdrawals. Everything frozen. So the big question is, how on earth did this happen? WazirX was the biggest exchange in India by a long shot. The whole catastrophe was just so sudden, and it left 15 million people completely locked out of their own accounts with absolutely no warning. So trying to unravel this thing meant chasing ghosts through the blockchain. Investigators dug in, and the forensic analysis pointed to a really sophisticated technical exploit, one that managed to sidestep all of WazirX's security layers. Well, it turns out this ghost had a name. The evidence trail, all the digital breadcrumbs, they all pointed in one direction, the Lazarus Group. This is a notorious state-sponsored hacking syndicate out of North Korea, and they are infamous for pulling off some of the biggest cyber thefts in history. Okay, so this right here, this was supposed to be the fortress, the very thing that failed. WazirX kept its funds in what's called a multi-signature or multi-sig wallet. You can think of it like a bank vault that needs multiple different keys to open. In their case, you needed 4 out of 6 possible signatures to approve any transfer. It was a system designed to be incredibly secure. So, how did the hackers get past that fortress? Well, this is where it gets really clever and honestly kind of scary. They used a tactic called signature phishing. The employees at WazirX who held the keys, they saw what looked like a totally routine, normal transaction on their screen. But what they were actually signing was something else entirely. It was a malicious upgrade that basically handed the hackers the master key to the whole vault. And this just shows you what happened next. Once they had the money, the Lazarus Group put on a masterclass in digital money laundering. Step 1, swap everything into a common crypto like Ethereum. Step 2, use things called cross-chain bridges to jump between different blockchains, completely muddying the trail. And finally, step 3, funnel millions through Tornado Cash, which is a crypto mixer designed specifically to break the link and erase the money's history. So while the hackers were busy covering their tracks, the real-world consequences were just starting to hit home. Now we're going to turn to the human cost of this hack, where those 15 million users found their life savings just trapped. This right here was the dream. You had investors like Ravi Narayanan who weren't just gambling, they were planning their entire futures. This man had borrowed money from his family, really believing that this investment was his ticket to financial freedom. And then, this was the brutal reality. In a desperate plea during the legal mess that followed, another investor, Srinivas Nagamothu, just perfectly captured the feeling of so many. For him and his family, having those funds frozen meant they were on the brink of poverty. So, what was WazirX's solution? Well, it was something called socialization of loss. And believe me, it was just as painful as it sounds. It meant that every single user, even the ones whose coins weren't actually stolen, would have had to take a 45% haircut on everything they held. It was an impossible choice: take a massive loss or risk a total loss if the exchange went under. What came next was just a grueling 16-month period of total paralysis. As WazirX was fighting for its life in a Singapore courtroom, millions of its users were just stuck waiting, their lives completely on hold. Just look at this timeline. It was agonizingly long. From the hack in July 2024, it took more than a year of court battles and creditor votes before a Singapore court finally gave the green light to a recovery plan in October of 2025. All told, the platform was frozen for 463 days. So after all that waiting, what did people actually get back? Well, the plan gave them about 85% of their holdings. Some of that was in actual crypto they could use, but the rest came in the form of these new recovery tokens. You can basically think of them as IOUs that are tied to WazirX's future success. Their actual value? It completely depends on whether the exchange can ever truly recover and turn a profit again. The WazirX saga is just a brutal but absolutely critical lesson in digital asset security. It really forces all of us to confront the most important principles of crypto and the huge risks we take when we hand over control to someone else. You know, this is one of the oldest, most important sayings in the crypto world, and the WazirX hack is the ultimate painful proof of why it matters. It's simple. If you don't personally control the private keys to your digital assets, you don't really own them. You're just trusting a company to hold them for you. So what's the solution? How do you stop this from happening to you? Well, security experts now recommend what they call the 90-10 strategy. The idea is to keep the vast majority of your crypto, your long-term investments, offline in what's called cold storage, like a physical hardware wallet. You only keep the small 10% you plan to actively trade on an exchange or a hot wallet. This one move dramatically limits how much you can lose in a hack like this. And looking ahead, the whole security game has changed. The most crucial takeaway here is physical verification. Never, ever trust what your computer screen tells you. Only trust what your physical hardware wallet shows. Ditch SMS for two-factor authentication, it's not secure, and use physical security keys instead. And please, for your own sake, practice recovering your wallet before you put your life savings into it. Which leaves us with this one big, fundamental question. The entire promise of crypto is decentralization, right? Getting rid of the need for trusted middlemen like banks. And yet, most of us access crypto through centralized exchanges like WazirX. So, does this reliance on a single point of failure completely undermine the whole purpose? The WazirX hack seems to suggest it just might.
This is BlackCode 101 reporting for duty, signing off.